and like I said, it can be hard, but this is part of the reason when you maybe you kind of choose some stuff together as a group to set up together. And then when you break up the work, that if you can avoid touching the same files, then you're not going to run into conflicts. Like if I'm working on like the bugs controller and only the bugs controller, and then someone else is working on the hospitals controller and only that, there's not going to be any conflicts. Conflicts occur when you have people changing the same file. And we'll look at some examples of that. And sometimes even when you are working on the same file, there's not, sometimes, Git can be smart enough to figure out that, it's not a conflict. So I think that's just a good rule in general. Like, if you want to try to be working on separate features, if you're working separately, and that should probably mean you're working on separate files. Now, there are certain files, say like your app.js, where, maybe I'm going to go create a new React component and set up a link. So I have to come here and add a route for it. And then someone else has to do the same thing where they're creating a different component and they need to come to the app.js and set up a link for it. So files like these can sometimes be, you might both need to act with, change. But generally, if I come in here and if I'm James and I come in here and add a James component, and then Bob comes in here and adds that on separate files, this isn't going to create a conflict, because Git's going to be smart enough to know, these are two separate different things. It'll just add both of them. Where you're going to get a conflict if I come into this line 15, and I change this to James, and then Bob comes in and changes it to Bob, and then we both try to commit, because then Git's not going to know, do I use the one that says Bob or do I use the one that used James? And then you'll have a conflict. So yeah, that's going to be I think as top, just basic level, avoiding conflicts. Just try to avoid working on the same files. And also, one of the nice things that you do have on Saturday, you're probably going to be in the same breakout room. So if there's ever a question you have about a file, or should you change something, you're going to be with your group. So ask your group what they think. You'd be like, oh, hey, I think I see a bug in bugs.js. Is it okay if we remove this right here? And then everyone can I share my screen? That kind of thing. So this is another thing that you're going to have available to you, is you're going to be with your group the whole time. So you can always ask questions to them and kind of go over these changes as a group. But let's go ahead and just do a little demo. So I'm going to make a directory. Let's call this git demo. And for this, I'm going to make a GitHub repository. Okay, let's Let's make this repository. All right. Get, I have to do a get init because this was didn't, since it's just a directory, it didn't automatically create the repo like it does when I do a Rails app. So I create my repo. I can add my origin, I can open this up into code. Sweet. Now I can make a couple of files. Let's do like james.js. Let's also just do like another file, like there's like an app.js. Some work, I don't know, like let y equal 1 plus 1. So just making some changes. Let me clean this up a little. Okay. So I'm just going to add these, get add dot, get commit dash m, and get push origin master. Cool. So I've just done some work. I've created a little GitHub repo. There it is. Now, one way I can kind of try to do this is to kind of be two people is I'm going to make some changes just on GitHub. Like I'm going to pretend like I'm a different developer and I'm making some changes. It's kind of weird to do this on GitHub. You're like never going to do this, but let's just pretend like I am a different developer. My name is Bob. And, you know, what's a .log? Bob. So this is like the equivalent of me being Bob. Let's pretend like I cloned down these changes. I cloned down this repo, I added this Bob file, and now I'm adding a like file. And now I just push that up to master. So Bob, you know, if I was working with Bob, you know, especially like if we're like it's a hackathon, I think something you're going to want to do as a group is whenever someone, maybe even before you push up to master, you're going to want to test, make sure you didn't break anything on your app. You don't want to be pushing up broken code to master. Once again, that's not like, that's a rule. That's a pretty strong rule, but people do it all the time. Like you can't always, you're never 100% sure your code's not broken, but try not to push broken code up to master. If you're pushing up to master, it should be working unless you specifically say like, oh, it's not working, but sometimes you do just need to get changes up and that's fine. But if it's broken, you should definitely be like, okay, it's broken, but you know, other people need to look at it. Like sometimes I'll have like, if you have a question, sometimes I'll just be like, will you just push what you have up onto master so I can pull it down and so I can see it. So what we have now, so Bob has made a change. Bob's pushed up to master. and I need to get that. So as James, I need to get those changes. So I'm going to do a get poll origin master. And then if I go to VS Code, now I have those, now I have that bob.js file. And like I said, if I'm, changing stuff here, and just like I'm working on this separate file, we're not going to have any issues. Likewise, if Bob just maintains working on his file, we're not going to have any issues because we're working on separate files. And he can push up to master, I can push up to master, and we can both like poll once we do. And everything's going to be all good. And
Can
I
you
can
poll before you've pushed your changes, or do you have to push all your changes first?
You have to poll first. And let me show you this. So let's say, okay, so we're both even. So I'm up to date with master. Let's say Bob makes a change. So this would be the same, like, same as Bob makes a change and pushes up to master. So here's that new change. So now if I make a change, and I try to push, if I do a git add dot git commit -m, I try to push master. Let's see if it blocks me. Yeah, see, it's not letting me. So it's saying, hey, I need to pull first from master because I'm not up to date with master. So that push didn't work because Bob made that change and pushed to master before I tried to push my change to master. So I need to do a get poll origin master. And that can kind of just be when you're working on a group, anytime you're going to want to push to master, that you can just get in the habit of just pulling from master. Oh, crap. Which one do I need to run for this one?
I believe the poll rebase falls. The first one.
I don't know what this.
And you can set it globally too. If you, so in like the bottom paragraph says you can replace git config with git config global, and it sets it for all of your git if you want to do that.
Okay. I must have set that sometime without noticing it.
I think after global, you have to add the poll.rebase false.
Yeah.
Oh. Git config global. Okay. Git config. Do I want that to be false though? And okay, if it works. Okay. So now I do a get pull origin master. Now I'm seeing a merge though. Okay. So now what this is saying is just trying to do a merge. It seems like an unnecessary merge though. All right. For here, whenever you run this, once again, this is, it's saying it's doing a merge. So I can just go ahead and quit out of this. 'Cause that's going to be the message merge branch master. So that's fine. I can just leave that. And there we go. And now I have that change. That seemed like an unnecessary merge though, anyway. If I do a git log, is that going to be in my git history? Yeah, that is in there. Okay. So now I can keep going. Let's try this one more time. Let's say Bob makes a change just to kind of repeat this. I have like this same thing in my way. So Bob makes a change. Commits that. Pushes it. I make a change. So I need to do a get pull origin master. Yeah, I don't like how that's making me do that. I'm gonna try doing this. I'll set it back. What do I want to do? But I'll figure this out later. It's not like, this is not a whole huge deal. I just don't like how it's, when these are like simple changes like this, it should just automatically merge that. I mean, what it's doing, but I don't like how that's, because what's going on is now that every time I'm going to have this, like I do a poll, it's going to have this merge message, which is kind of, which is useful if you have a, like if you do a conflict, but there's no conflicts going on here. I have to, let me try doing this. I'm going to try all these options. Okay, so let's do this again. Just lots of repetition. All right, so once again, Bob makes a change. I make a change after Bob does. I want to try to push up. You can do a -am to do the add and message at the same time. So yeah, now if I try to push, let's see, I should say I need to poll. So I can poll origin master. Oh, I don't like that. Okay. Successfully respaced and updated head. See, that time I didn't get the, didn't make me do that merge. I need to go figure out which one I want to do. I'm going to try this other one. Okay. Let's do one more change. So Bob changes it 6. And I change mine. Bob commit, yeah, Bob committed. So now I can do a commit, and then I need the poll. Unpacking, so fatal, not pass, not possible to fast forward. Okay, so I don't think I got those changes. Yeah, so I don't have Bob 6. All right, so let's use, I'm gonna need to like see which one we should use. Let's do faults, let's just do the merge. Oh, what if we can do like a none? I need to remove that. Crap. Poll FF options. Maybe this one. Dash dash no F. I just need to like, I've like totally screwed up my poll because now I can't do this. Open. This file's got to live somewhere. Where does the pig? Let's do that. Oh, there it is. Okay. It's right here. All right, let's see if that fixed it. So I need to CD into desktop, into DPL. Okay, let's see if I can pull now. Fast. Okay, there we go. So wondering if I get rid of this. Fine, we'll just leave that there. Okay. Anyway, So let's actually, sorry, that was just like a little sidestep of going in, trying to look at these. I really shouldn't be seeing either of these messages. I need to kind of go look at what's going on here, but just turn the rebase to false. I just don't like how that's, the thing I don't like about this is it's getting us, like I said, every time we do a poll, it's probably going to give us this merge message. So
Yeah, it's really weird that it's doing that for you. Because when I was working with Austin, ours just merged.
yeah, I want to expect this to be happening on most of yours. It's, I don't know what is going on with this. I don't know what I might have messed up. So we can kind of ignore that, but let's look at a conflict, because what I've been trying to show is like, you know, Bob is doing changes on bob.js. James is doing changes on james.js. There's been no conflicts. So if you can always work on the same files, then that's good. So let's also do like, let's now go work on the app.js. So I'm going to have Bob come in here and make a change in here, like this is JavaScript, columns Bob. Like Bob comes in here, writes a function. Okay. And then, so that's in the app.js. And then also James comes in here and writes a function. Okay, so Bob has pushed up to master because this is on master. There's also a spelling error here, so I'll fix that. Cool. So now Bob has made his changes, pushed it up to master. I have only made my change on my local machine, so I'm going to I'm going to do a pull request, or I'm going to pull. So this error is saying, you know, before I pull, I either need to add my changes or I need to stash them. So that's saying I need to do a git add, git commit before I try to pull. Now I can pull. Cool. So now this does create a conflict. I was maybe thinking this might be able to figure this one out, but it can't. So now I have a conflict. So if I go look at VS Code, this is what I have. And this stuff here, this like these like brackets and equal sign, this is just text. You can go in and edit this. But VS Code also gives us some tools to maybe, you know, fix this. So what Git is doing is Git is saying, hey, here are some changes that I don't know what to do with. There's like a conflict between these two. And what I can do here is I can resolve these. So I can do whatever I want. I could just come in here and just delete both of them. Boom, conflict's gone. I could come in here. I can also use these tools like accept current change. I could accept incoming change. That's going to get Bob's change. I could do accept both changes.
Would it let you comment one out? Like, would it let you do that?
Yeah, I can do, this is just. I think all that's happening is Git tried to merge. It wasn't able to, and then it just put, this is just text right here. VS Code's giving us some nice syntax highlighting, like it's making this green and this blue, but this is just text. Like I could just save this. I could commit this right now, or I could come in here manually, do that. It's just kind of text. Like if I change like one of these symbols, it's probably going to screw up the syntax highlighting. And then I could save that. And now this is what my file looks like. So you can do whatever you want here. I could add more stuff here. I could change Bob's code. Probably want to get rid of these characters because that's definitely going to be like, that's going to be a syntax error in JavaScript, right? This is not syntactically correct JavaScript. So I need to get rid of those. But that's where, that's like Git's done at that point. Git is like, Git is saying, okay, you figure this out. That's all I'm going to do for you. So this is where it'd be good to, go if you're confused or you don't know. This would be maybe the time I go talk to like Bob. And I go, hey, Bob, I'm having a conflict. What do we want here? Do we want this? And yeah, Bob would be like, yeah, that's good code. Let's take that. I'm like, sweet. We could take both of them. So let's just take both of them. Now I'm still getting like this little exclamation mark. So this is still telling me, I've made some changes, but if I do like a git status, it's still trying to merge these two. So what I need to do to finalize this merge or this conflict is I just need to do a git add dot git commit dash m merged, like conflict resolved or something. And then I can now push up to master. And now that works. So now if I go back to master and I refresh this app.js, now we got both of these changes. Let's just do another one just to kind of show you where people, I think, can get into trouble. So let's say Bob comes in here again, does a Bob1 function. And I hit, yeah, hello. Whatever, that's my commit message, doesn't really matter. So Bob pushes up. And then I'm doing some changes. Like maybe I get rid of this. Get rid of this. Like, I don't know, for whatever reason, these are the changes I want to make here. And then I do a git commit. I pull. Merge WQ. So yeah, that looked like that worked. I can quit. So this didn't have a conflict. And yeah, I push up. But if I go back up to master, so here's master. Master has this bob function, has this bob1. I made some changes. But as James, I deleted this bob function. I also deleted the app function. I created my own James one. I refresh. The app is gone, Bob is gone. But there was no conflict, right? So maybe that Bob function was needed. And like, but maybe as James, I thought for some reason it wasn't, or I changed it. So it's not like this stuff is not like 100%, like it's not 100% going to like catch all these things. So this is where it can get easy to, you accidentally overwrite someone's code, or you actually destroy someone's code. Because for whatever reason, maybe I thought that Bob code wasn't necessarily like, I deleted the Bob code and created this James code, this James 1 code, and thought that was like a better way to do it. But I kind of just overwritten those changes. So that's kind of like one way, like that wasn't even a conflict, but I just kind of written some code. I mean, I could do something similar where, Bob comes in here, changes this to Bob 2. So Bob 2 adds some code. I come in, I do a pull request. See, that's what I was looking for. I get Bob's 2's changes. I get that function. But what happens now, like, let's just say for whatever reason, I go and delete all that stuff. Git add dot git commit dash m. Git push towards master. See, that worked. I pulled down. There wasn't any conflicts when I pulled down, but from there I can like just kind of edit this file and change it and just push it up to master. And now those Bob functions are gone. So it's very easy. And honestly, that's how Git should work. This isn't like an issue with Git, like, but I just kind of want to show it's really easy. Like if you're working on the same files, where functions names aren't the names of the developers, where you accidentally, just because for whatever reason you might not think those functions are needed, you go in and change them. It's really easy to overwrite people's code. So especially when you're starting out, and since we're doing everything on master, I think it's real. What is most important with the GitHub stuff is communication with your teammates, and making sure, if you're unsure about like, if it's code you didn't write, and you're like deleting it or you're changing it, you might want to ask, the person who wrote it and be like, hey, I think this is wrong. Can I delete it? Or what are you doing here? And talk to them. I wonder if this. because here's something that's a little like, because once you have, I don't know if you noticed this on Git, on VS Code, where it says like who made the commit, who made the change. Notice how this is saying like you, like this is me, James, on my machine. If I go to Bob, it's actually saying James Yates because that's like the GitHub name. So if you had a different team member, it should say, oh, Bob made this change 24 minutes ago. So then I could be like, hey, Bob, why did you make this change 24 minutes ago? And that's one way you can communicate. What we're going to do, and you don't have to do this. I just kind of want to give you like a little bit of maybe a better way to do this. Don't do this for your hackathon because we'll get into this later. But what we're going to do is once we get to our like portfolio projects and probably like the second hackathon is we're going to use branches. So what I can do is I can check out to a branch. Let's call this like feature one. So what branches allow me to do is kind of take the code as is and create like a copy of it in a new branch. Think about like a tree where I have like my code, and then I'm going to take the code and I'm going to create a branch. So now I have like a copy of it. So like here in my James.js, I could be like, feature one feature. Lots of cool stuff. But it's also like in progress. So let's say in this James.js, I'm working on this feature one. There's lots of cool stuff going on in here, like weeks of work in this file. And what I need to do is let's say there's a bug right here on line 8. So I need to change this line of code right away, but I'm still working on this feature and it's in progress. So I have all of this code right here that I can't just like comment out or like delete. Because you could imagine like, especially when you get to like Rails, if you've been working on a feature for a couple days or weeks, this is going to be multiple files, multiple lines of code. You can't just go in and comment that out, right? That'd be like impossible. But I maybe need to go in and just make one quick change. Like I want to change one thing in this one line of code. Well, luckily I'm on a branch. So what I can do is I can check out to master, go back to the master branch. Am I not on master? Why is that still there? Oh crap, I forgot to. I screwed something up. Okay, I forgot to commit. I'm going to go back here. Sorry. To check out feature one. Forgot an important step. Actually, like on this feature branch, I would need to do a git add dot git commit dash m in progress. So now I'm working on this branch. I have these features going on. I can do a git checkout back to master. Cool. So now when I go back to master, those changes are not there. So I could do like a git. I could either do this in master where like, oh yeah, boom, make that change. Git add dot git commit dash m, whatever, like bug fix. Git push origin master. Cool. So I could go fix that bug and then I can go back to work on my feature. But my feature branch doesn't have this change. I probably want that to be up to date with master. So what I could do here is I could just do a git pull origin master. Git pull origin master. Says I have a conflict. Okay. So let's go through this conflict together. I'm on this feature branch. I want to get the new feature, but I want to also keep the stuff I'm working on. So let's just kind of like, if I accept current change, does that give me that doesn't give me the bang. So I wouldn't have the new feature. If I accept incoming change, I get the change, but I don't have my feature stuff there. So that's not good. I accept both changes. Well, now I have this old change here. I still have my feature stuff. And then I have this log here. So that's a case where, you know, this helper that it's giving me doesn't quite do it for me. Like I'm going to manually have to kind of figure this out. So that's where I kind of have to be like, I can accept both changes and then be like, well, really, I want this to be like that. And boom, that's how I would want that, right? Now with resolving conflicts, there's not like, I don't know, like resolving conflicts is all about you. Like where do you want your code to be? Like Git's not going to do that for you. It's kind of up to you. Like I had to manually like go through that. It's like, you're not always going to say accept current change. You're not always going to say accept incoming change. You're not always going to accept both changes. Sometimes none of these options are even going to work and you're going to have to like figure it out on your own. Like we just did there. So the way I fixed that was, and like I said, maybe I don't even use that. It's like, I don't want that change. I want this change. Get rid of all of this stuff. There we go. Now I can keep on working. But another thing we'll start to do also is, let's say my feature is now done. Yay. And I'm ready to push. So what we're going to start doing, you know, once we get towards the end of the class is you're not going to push up to master. You're going to do a get push. So I would first pull, just make sure I'm all up to date. Oh, sorry. So I resolved that conflict. So I need to do the last step of committing. So that I merged conflict. And then I can do a pull. So I'm already up to date. That's good. And then I'm going to push. Now I'm not going to push up to master. I'm going to push up to a branch on GitHub. So what I'm doing here is I created a branch. I still got up to date with master because the next step is I push this up to a branch. So that's the git push origin and then the branch name. So we've been always doing git push origin master, or some of you have main, but it's always been that like main branch. Now we're going to start pushing to just any branch that we want to. So I'm going to push to origin feature 1. So now if I go to GitHub, let me refresh my code. Now I have a different branch on GitHub called feature 1. And feature 1 has that new feature. If I go to master on GitHub, master does not. So then what I can do is, and this link's right here, I can create a pull request. I can also do it through here. It's like feature 1 has recent pushes. I can do a pull request. So this is also going to check to see, you know, can these branches merge? So this is going to do a check to make sure that this feature branch doesn't have any conflicts with the master branch. So this is another way to kind of prevent conflicts. I can also go through, I can look at like the commit history. I can see what things are different between this branch and the master branch. And what you're gonna do, probably like what's gonna probably happen at a company is you would create this, you would do this, you would create a branch, you would do your work, and then you create this pull request. Added cool features, yo. So you, as the person who created this request, you create this pull request. And then probably someone else on your team is going to look over this. They're going to look and see what changes you made. And then, you know, once they feel good about it, they'll merge it to master. So I can look at this branch. So someone else would be like, okay, this looks good. I'm going to merge this to master on GitHub. So now this has been merged into master. If I go to my if I go to my repo, my master branch, I look at this one. Now my changes are in here. So I kind of just wanted to, I don't expect you to kind of follow all of this. I kind of just wanted to get some of these terms inside of your head. And kind of just the first time of this process using branches. I would say don't use branches for the hackathon. You can try if you want to get some experience, go for it. But you don't need to. But can you kind of see how, first of all, I think with this demo, you see with me just being able to push directly to master, like how kind of dangerous that is. Because I could just go in, change someone else's code, push up to master, and then like it's gone. So branching and doing it this way, it gives us a point where we can, hey, before we push to master or before we merge code into master, someone reviews it. And you can actually set up GitHub so you can't do a git push origin master, like it won't allow you to push to master. So it can really protect master from, you know, someone just pushing up random code to it. So you have to go through a pull request to get code onto master. But for now, and for the hackathon, just realize since we can push directly to master, you can really easily overwrite someone's code. So just be careful, communicate, work on different files. If you get into conflicts or you're unsure about code that you didn't write, whether it needs to be there, just ask. And if someone does overwrite someone's code, just realize it is very easy to do so. Don't get all upset because it happens all the time. It's part of like the learning process with Git. So, but does this kind of help show where you can overwrite stuff and maybe how to avoid that?
If someone was to overwrite, you can always revert that back too, can't you?
Yeah, because what we could do is it can kind of sometimes be a pain to revert to get. Reverting is not necessarily easy because what happens generally is like you know you're taking out certain things here and there. So if you revert back, it still might be broken. So it might be a little bit of like a more manual process of going through and like picking and choosing what you need. So, I mean, if it was one file like this, yeah, reverting would be easy, but usually it's going to be like, well, I need this change from this commit and that change from that commit. And you kind of have to manually do that. But yeah, we can go in, we can look at our history. It's not like if there was a ton of work that was gone or that was like destroyed, like it is going to be in here. Like, for example, we have in the app.js, we don't have those Bob functions anymore. We could go find those. So I could do like a file history. Where is Bob? See, you know, there they are. Like they're still there. That code is still in our history. But it might be, you might have to be like, which one do I want? That can be a little more challenging. Cool. And yeah, that is the other takeaway. So like if someone does clobber your code or something like that, don't get too upset because it's probably going to be there in some shape or form. Unless there are ways to do that. Like I don't know if I do Git. I could do it like if I did like a Git, if I did like an rm-rf.git and then like a Git in it. Yeah, that's like now all, I mean, these are just there because I had those files open. But like I just destroyed my Git repository and created a new one. So now I don't have any of that history. There are ways to do that, like especially like if you do like, you know, like the git reset and you use like the -- hard flag. There's some of those commands where it's like, is it going to destroy it or is it going to overwrite it? Stuff like that. So cool. Let's take a break. I would just say, yeah, with the Git stuff, especially towards the end of the cohort, you're going to get a lot of Git practice. So I think it's something you're going to be very comfortable with at the end of the course. So just keep using it, experimenting with it. And yeah, I think a good way to do it is just on your own. Just try to create conflicts. So you can do it on your own repo, like try to break your stuff just so it's a lot less pressure when you don't have teammates. You're doing like Git stuff. So cool. And then yeah, Mike will do a little review on Git, and then I think tomorrow we'll also talk some more about Git. So if you have any questions about Git, you can save them for Michael today and also for me tomorrow. So we'll do some more Git stuff tomorrow. Cool. Yeah, let's come back at 10:50. Okay. So let's go ahead and get started. One thing with, just kind of like review what we did yesterday, 'cause that's what we're going to be working on today. I think I was on marked. Bugs me. Okay. So let's just run this app, just kind of remind ourselves how far we got. So I'm just going to start up my server. So yesterday, we spent a lot of time with just some basic setup type stuff and some planning out. One of the nice things about having a Trello board and why this becomes more and more important, especially as your projects get longer and longer, like weeks, months, years. It's nice to kind of like keep track of what you've been working on, what you are working on, kind of the requirements. Once again, to have this kind of source where everything's kind of organized. So for instance, yesterday, we built out a wireframe. So we could always go check that out. Just kind of remind ourselves what we're trying to build. Remember yesterday, we're doing like this vaccine app where we're having these three, or I would say these two main features of bugs in hospitals, but then our bugs model has many vaccines. So we were working on this bugs CRUD action on the front end primarily, where we're able to list some bugs. We have a new bug, edit bug, that takes us to our different forms. And then, we haven't got here yet, but we're going to have this vaccines front end where we can do CRUD actions on a vaccine. And I think we just decided to do all the CRUD actions on this one page, just to get some practice and some variety, where with our bugs, we're going to do our CRUD actions on separate forms. Cool. I'd say we're probably not going to get the hospitals or this about, but those are kind of maybe things, if we have time, we could do something similar where we do CRUD actions on the hospitals page. Another thing we did is we have our Lucidchart. So once again, the bigger your database gets, this is always nice to have just like a visual representation of what your database looks like. So we have a bugs table. Bug has a name and a description, which are both strings. Our bugs have many vaccines. Our vaccine belongs to a bug. So that's our vaccine is going to have a bug ID, which is a foreign key, name, string, and efficacy, which is a float. Then we have a hospitals table that's going to have name, city, and string. So we got that done. We've also planned out our API, where we're really just following standard CRUD actions. So this is really going to help, the front end people and the back end people work together, even though, because we started this yesterday, we don't even have our back end really set up. I know we generated the models and did a seeds file, but we don't have any of our controllers set up. But since we kind of have this, we're doing standard CRUD actions, we kind of have this as a roadmap and as a blueprint to how our app's going to work. So this is going to make it easier for the front end and back end to do work in parallel. Cool. So yeah, I could say, we did also, this would be done, the initial setup, Rails and React app. Those two were kind of together. So yeah, right now we're just kind of working on, the front end bugs. And then I'd say up next, we can maybe do the back end CRUD actions on bugs. And then, yeah, if we go to our React app where we can see how far we got, we have our home page, we have our about page, just React router setup, bugs. Remember, we're using dummy bugs. So we're at least able to render them out. We can delete one, which deletes it from the UI. We don't really have this set up with the database yet. Looks like there's an error. Oh, I just created a bug. One thing I did yesterday, let's just go back. Because one problem we were having before we left is the edit was not rendering these values by default. So I got that working. So let me show you what I did to get this working, but then it seems like it caused another bug. So here's the lines of code I added. So what I was trying to do yesterday was send the bug information. So when you click on the link, I could just send the bug. Now this right here, this was like the React Router version 5 way to do it. So it's just a little different syntax with version 6 React Router. And I can Slack this out so you can have it. Open up Slack. Okay. So what I do is I have my link. I give it the to prop. So that's just the path we want to match. And then I can pass it this state prop. Now I want to pass this bug. So I'm just passing an object. I could do bug. Could also send like, you know, some other data. Bug. Remember, this is just an object. So if the key and values match, I don't need, can I send that, please? I don't need to have the key and value. If the name are the same, I can just leave it like that. So what I do is I give it this state prop. And then in my bug form, here's how I did this. I can just grab this bug like so. I'll throw this out in Slack. So I grab this use because I got rid, this was the code I got rid of, this red stuff. That means that's gone. So in my bug form, I can now pull off that bug key from the use location. I call that function and just pull it off of the state. Another way that might be a little more, if that's syntax is a little confusing, I could do something like this. I could set that to a variable location. And then do it in 2 lines. So I'll go back. Cool. So that's how I have that. So that's how, and you know, also I was like pulling X, like I was sending this random value X. I could use that if I wanted to, but I just want to grab that bug object. And then for my form, then I can use that name and description. And then this way I don't have to do an Axios call to load that value. Let's see. But now it looks like this is causing some errors. Oh, I need to call this right here. Use location. That's a function. I need to call that function. So now I can click on that one. That is there. It also seems like I created a bug or an error when I click on new bug. I get this error. cannot destructure property bug of location.state as it is null. So for this link, for my new link, if we go to my bugs, so for the edit, I give that link some state. But for the new link, I don't give it anything. So that's why it's going to be undefined there. So I just need to do a little check in my bug form. So I could do something like this. I could see, do I have location.state? Question mark. If not, render an empty object. Let's see if this works. So if I go to a new bug, that doesn't break. If I go back to my bugs and go to edit, that works. Okay, I think this is probably a kind of confusing line of code right here. Line 7. Does anyone try to explain what's going on with that? Or is it pretty?
So is it getting the bug that you passed through with the state, but it has to use the location in order to get the state?
Yeah. So that for the edit, that's what's going on there. It's gonna, if that state is there, then it'll pull that bug key out of it. For the new, because here's the link for the new, there is no state. So for that one, in that case, the location.state would be null. So we're going to use, so I'm going to default this to an empty object. And then I'm going to try to destructure this bug key off of an empty object. So in the case of like, if this was the new form link, what is the value of bug going to be?
No.
Yeah. So that would be null. And that's good because then down here, when I try to like set my name state for the form, if bug is null, then we're going to use just an empty string. But if we have bug, then we'll use the .name key on it. So there might be a different way we could have solved this, but I think this works. So now, I can click edit. So now my edit form's populated, but then if I go to new, it's blank, but it's also not breaking. And once again, I'm not doing an Axios call to get this data. I'm just passing it with React Router. So when it comes to like the hackathon or when it comes to the homework, it's just the most important thing is to get it working. So if you find it's easier to do an Axios call to get the bug and get the data that way, you can do it. Just wanted to show you, you can pass data via I guess the state prop through link to pass it on down to that next page. And then with the use location hook, you can pull it off. Sweet. Yeah, and so for both of these, we do have our Axios calls there. And when we handle the error, we just navigate back to bugs. So if I click edit and change this and click update, it takes me back there. If I do a new bug, it takes me back to this page. And we have delete, we have edit. So I think that actually one thing we're definitely going to want with this is a show page. So that's the last thing I'm going to add here in our bugs. We have a delete button. Let's go ahead and do another link. To bugs, bug ID. I'm still going to pass down this state. I might want it. Let's do a show. So if I click show, now notice this is going to bugs too. I still have my nav bar. It's not breaking. I mean, it is breaking. Let me clear my console just so we don't get that again. So we're not getting these 404s. So I think this can be useful when you're testing to like clear your console a lot. So you're getting rid of some errors that are there. Because what I want to do, I want to click on the show. Now I'm not getting an error, like my app's not breaking, but if I scroll up here, I'm getting this warning that no route match location bugs too. So is this a 404 error or is this a different kind of error or warning? Or does anyone know where I need to fix this?
Probably need to add a
Find it
route
here.
map.
Okay, you kind of talk. I heard app.js, right? Because this, once again, this link I'm trying to create right here, I could also think about it with my Figma, you know, hey, when I click on a bug, what I really want to go is to like this vaccines page. So yeah, if I go to my app.js, I don't have a path that matches, you know, bugs:ID. So I need to add that. And just to like demo this, I could just, you know, write a React component right here really quickly. Like, I don't know, this would be like the bug show, you know, vaccines page. So remember, if it doesn't start with an API, you know, these are my React router routes that I'm trying to match to show, hey, which element do I want to show? Or which route do I want to show? So now if I go back to this page, let's see if we get that. Oh, now I'm getting an error. Oh, functions are not valid as React child, really? All right, I guess this is a new React Router 6 thing. So I was just trying to do a shortcut to, I don't know why that doesn't work. because that is just a React component. But I guess it doesn't like it as a function. So what I need to do, that would have worked in version 5. Let's just put this in a component. I don't know, we could either call this bug, or let's call this like bug vaccines, just to kind of show that's what this is. We're showing a particular bug's vaccines. All right. And then here I can just create my quick little component, import React, const bug vaccines props return export default. Yeah, but that's unrepresented. Okay. So then I'm going to just render this component there. I don't know why it just didn't let me throw in a function there, but let's see if this works. And there we go. So I go to bugs 2. Now we're going to that bugs vaccine page. And that's the reason why, like, this is once again why it's nice to have that wireframe. I think you can kind of definitely get lost in the code and kind of, you know, we have a lot going on with the code. I think a picture can be so nice because it can just visualize what I'm trying to do here. When I click on a bug, I'm coming to this page, which is going to show all that bugs vaccines, the new form, and then, you know, do the edit stuff from here as well. So this is the page I'm like slowly creating. And yeah, I might even want to like append this with vaccines. I don't know if that makes more clear to you. If, like that's, you know, I'm going to bugs, give me the ID of that bug, and then the vaccines. If I added that there, I would need to also add it here in my bugs.js. So in this link, remember, I'm also passing it the bug. Cool. That's something we're probably going to want. We're at least going to want the ID, because this one we are, even though I'm passing it the bug information, I'm still going to need to do an Axios call to get like the vaccine information. So let's show that really quick. So we're going to import use location from React Router, const location equals use location. Then we can destructure the bug out of that. And then, you know, for now, we could just do like a JSON dot stringify bug, just so we can see what that looks like. We go back here, go to bugs, show bugs vaccine page. I'm not really seeing that. Let's see here. See if that actually got this change. Should have. Log. I'm going to console.log location. Doesn't seem like this is
I think you need
What?
location.state.
Oh, yep, I do. You're right. Let me just show you. Yeah, so I need location.state. So what I would have done, because I kind of forgot that, if I would have console.log, location, this is kind of just would be a little debugging technique, because why isn't this working? Well, let's log location. Let's see if location is defined. See, and if I would log it, then as Mike said, if there's the state, oh, there's my bug. So I need to grab the bug from state. So I can go, oh yeah, it's from location.state. There we go, and there we go. There's my bug ID2 name, dummy bug description, etc. Cool. And I would say, that's as far as what we're talking about now, this front end bugs, I would say, that's good. I'm going to say, because the rest of this page, that looks like that should be the front end on vaccines. That's like another card. I maybe just got that one started. Cool. So what I would probably do, and because I was developed, if you remember from yesterday, this was I was pretending to be a different developer. I was I'm Mark. So, and I'm working on the front end for bugs. I'm not worried about the back ends. Maybe even doing that vaccines page, I don't know, that's once again, this can kind of be where you get into a little the gray area, should have I done that? I think this is fine. Maybe someone else would have done it and I would have needed to be just communicating with my team. But I think as far as this is concerned, this is done. Or it's done enough. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a git add dot git commit -m, and I'm going to say front end bugs. It's close. I'm just going to push that up to master. Cool. I'm actually not going to switch. Okay, so let's pretend I'm just a different developer now, and I'm not even working on this. At the same time, someone else is working on the back end CRUD actions on bugs. So now we're we don't care about the front end. Now we're just putting on our back end developer hat, and we're going to do back end CRUD actions on our bugs. So from yesterday, what we have done so far with this, we do have our bugs model, and we have our association set up. We do have a seeds file. We actually have some bugs, some vaccines, and some hospitals. We have our associations correctly set up. We do have our routes set up. So as far as the back end stuff is concerned for bugs, I really just need to do all of this stuff in the bugs controller. So let's go ahead and do the back end for bug. So let's start our index render JSON bug.all. Now, if I don't have a front end, which if we're pretending like we're doing these in parallel, that's fine, because I can open up Postman and I can use Postman to test these out. And I know from like this little cheat sheet, you know, like getting API bugs, that should show all bugs. Cool. So let's test this path out. I need to start my server. So now I can do a local host. I think I started on 3001. Yeah, 3001 API/bugs. Cool. We must have deleted a bug, but I can now see this is, you know, that's giving me array back of bugs that have, you know, ID, name, description. Perfect. So that one's working. So now I can do my next one. Let's do a get API bugs ID. So that should show one bug. Okay, let's go to VS Code. Let's do my def show. And for this one, I know I'm going to want to do this before action. To set bug, because I know I'm going to do this in a couple of my methods. So I can say @bug equals bug dot find params ID. And before action set bug. I don't want to do that. And I'll just even worry about the two methods I have now. So I don't want to do it on my index. I only want to do it on my show. And then for this, I can render JSON @bug. Cool, so then I can go check out that path. Do a get request API bugs 1. There you go, and that's rendering just one object. Notice how this is just a object. If I go back to bugs, it's in an array. There's an array of objects, even though there's just one. Cool. So now that one is done. Now I could do my post. So, you know, if I do API bugs, we need to create a bug. I'm expecting to get a name and description. Then, you know, I'm going to return the bug back, or a 422 error if it didn't work. So for this, I'm going to need my bug params. I'm going to do our normal sanitation. Params dot require bug dot permit name and description. So for my create, say @bug equals bug dot new bug params if @bug dot save. This is where we render JSON. We'll get back the bug. Now we'll render JSON. Let's do some errors. Bug dot errors Status 4.
Do you need @bug.errors?
Yes, I do. Thank you. And cool. And for like my bug model, I could say like validates. I mean, this would be a bonus, but I could probably do this, you know, validates name presence. True. Just make sure they have a name. Probably don't want to create a bug if it doesn't have a name. And that'll give me something to maybe test my errors with. For like the hackathon, I would, validation is definitely going to be like a bonus feature. So that kind of stuff you can skip. But, you know, I'm here. We can just test this out really quick now. So we have our create method. So this should be a post API bugs. I need to send some data. Well, let's do a post to API bugs without sending anything. There's my 400 error. So that's, you know, I'm missing my parameters. So I need to send in, you know, bug and then the name. If that's blank. See, now I'm getting my 422 error. Name can't be blank. So that's testing my error handling. So the first one, if I don't have this, this is kind of testing my sanitizer. Like it's failing right here because this require bug is not there. On this next test, when I do send bug and then name, bug is there, but the name doesn't have a value. So that can't be blank. So now I could have one, and then I could also, so if I send that, there we go. That works. I don't have to have a description. That wasn't part of my validation, but now I know that's creating. I could also just, you know, might as well test, can I send a description? Send that. I spelled description wrong. Spelling it wrong again, description. And there we go. Cool. So my create's working. I could also just, you know, go back, do a get request, make sure. There we go. So now my create's working. I quickly, you know, copy this, do my update. My update's going to be very similar. I just need to do a app bug dot update bug params. And my update, once again, I'm using this app bug variable. I need to remember to set that before, so I'll throw update in my array. So now I can go test my update method. So I can do a put API bugs. Let's go ahead and update bug number. Make sure you have you need to get the right ID. So like 5. Go ahead and do, we could just send, you know, bug name. If that's empty, we get that error. But if we do actually something, we send it, now it updates. So now my update is working. Index show create update. Now we need our destroy. I'm going to clean this one up a little. This one, we can now use the app bug in our before action. So we find our bug. I just need to make sure I set it here. destroy. There we go. So now I can test that one. Delete. So let's do a delete request. Let's try to delete bug number 5. I hit send. There it is. It's deleted. If I try to send this again, I'm going to get an error because it's been deleted from the database. 404, not found. Boom. So now my backend is done for this bug section, and it's pretty well tested. And you know, I've only changed 2 files. I've done the bugs controller, and I've added this small little thing to my bug model. But as a backend person, I'm like, okay, I think I've tested it. It's looking good. So yeah, I would do like a git add dot git commit dash m, you know, bug backend done. Git push origin master. Cool. So let's now pretend like that the front end person had the front end done before I got the back end done. So I would then say, hey, front end person, the bug back end's done. You go ahead and pull from master and you can now finish it. So, okay, so the front end person would then pull from master. I mean, it's already up to date, but we're just kind of pretending here. And now the front end person could go back and, you know, go finish out the features. So let's see how much work this is going to take. I'm not sure. We might have added some bugs, but because we did all of the front end without any functional back end. So let's go see how hard this is going to be to now go back to like our bugs.js and actually have this work with our backend. All right. So if I just go to localhost 3001, let's just refresh. Oh, I probably need to start my server. Rails s-p 3001. I'm going to refresh. Boom. So now we have all of the bugs from our database. So what I'm going to do as far as the front end, I no longer want this list anymore. So I'm just going to delete that. So I don't want to have that just messing up my code. So I'm not going to want to do this anymore. So let's get rid of this when backend is working. So yeah, let's get rid of that. And let's get our alert back. So when we mount, we already had this set up, and we already had it set up to set bugs to res.data. So that is why that is working. All right, let's try our delete. So our delete, let's just go ahead and delete flues. So that removes it from the UI, but I could also just refresh to make sure that's deleted from the database. So that is deleted from the database. So I just want to do this one last remove. Like I want to get rid of this because when I catch an error, I don't want to remove this. This was just when my backend wasn't working. And I want to uncomment out whatever error handling I had. Cool. So now my delete function is working. I can also get rid of this comment here, this uncomment comment. Cool. So let's try to do our edit. So I'm going to edit COVID, update. That. Okay, so that's not working, but let's go to our bugs form. Because if I actually go back to my bugs, it is actually updating. It's just not navigating back. Because in my bug form, how I handled this was in my error, I navigated to bugs. So now I want to, I just kind of forgot to put that there. Your bug form. And then something else, like just to have like maybe a message like error occurred. Update. Error occurred in create. So I just had to throw this navigate to bugs up here. So once I successfully add a bug, I go back to my bugs page. And that should actually do another Axios call to get the updated bug. Same thing with create. So let's try that again. Edit. 19 update. There we go. If I do a new bug, let's do measles. And then create. So then now my create's working. So I can delete, I can edit, show. Show's not really my concern with this. It just does take me there. And there we go. So if I look at the changes I had to make, you know, just some small changes to kind of actually get this set up with an actual database. So it wasn't that much work to get this working with an actual database. Just had to like, and I kind of left myself some comments to kind of remind myself, hey, yeah, let's get rid of this when we have this working. Just got rid of my dummy data. And there we go. So now that's done, I could go ahead and add these and commit. Commit. Any questions on that? I think that this is definitely a lot easier said than done to kind of separate these into separate tasks, and like especially with your front end, you know, working with that dummy data and then just having it be that smooth to hook up with the back end. But the point is you can do quite a bit of work with your front end without having your back end done. And your back end with Postman, you can get all of it done. You can feel very confident in your back end, you know, with Postman. Cool. So let's just keep going. So those would be done. So now we have the front end and back end on vaccines. And I really think that these four could be done. If you had 4 people, these really, you could have 4 people working on, 1 person working on each thing. The one page that you might like just, and once again, you can always just communicate how you would do it. I think there was this one page that I think there was a little bit of crossover from, you know, going from our bugs to our bug vaccine. So but I think that one with just a little communication, you could get that working. So now let's start on this one, on doing our vaccines. And let's start on the back end this time. Last time we started on the front end. This time we'll start on the back end. And I think you'll notice that the back end is quite a bit easier to do. So that's something you can kind of think about for your hackathon. Like maybe just as a group, maybe you find it easier just to get all your back end done, or maybe, you know, you have 1 person working on the back end and, you know, 2 people working on the front end, just because it can be a little less work. Because yeah, let's see how quickly we can build out our back end for our vaccines. And since we spent the time planning, you know, I feel a little more comfortable going a little more fast through this. So we have all of our routes that we have. You know, we have a get. We're going to want to be able to get all our vaccines. We're going to want to maybe show 1 vaccine. I don't even know if we need that one, but we can do that pretty quickly. We can create a vaccine, we can update a vaccine, and we can delete a vaccine. This show is actually wrong. This needs to be a colon ID right there. So let's just go bust this out really quick. And this is just kind of following a standard has many association in Rails. We're not really doing anything fancy, so let's think about first some of our private actions. So with this being a has many, we're going to want to set sub on all of these, but not sub, set bug on all of these actions, right? All of our URLs, or all of these URLs have a bug ID. So we're going to want to find the bug. So at bug equals bug dot find params. What is the name of this param?
Is it not just ID?
It's not. And how I know what the ID is going to be, I mean, what I need to do is go to localhost 3001 rel info routes. I need to start my server. Is when I'm looking at these paths, I have this colon bug ID. So the colon bug ID, that should be the ID of the bug. And then any ones that have the colon ID, that should be the ID of the vaccine. So this is going to come as params bug ID and params ID. So that's how I can determine what that's going to be called. So for this one, this is bug ID. I'm also, because in here, I'm going to have a set vaccine method in here. Vaccine. That one's going to be vaccine. Or I can actually use my app bug. App bug.vaccines.find params colon ID. Because the params colon ID, that's matching what it is here in your Rails info routes. I'm also going to have a vaccine params sanitizer. So this is going to be params dot require vaccine dot permit. What do we have? We have a name and a efficacy. So before action, on all of these actions, I want to set sub. I'm going to do that on all of my actions in this one. And I'm also going to before action set vaccine. Which methods do I want to set my vaccine on? Well, it's the ones that are given a ID. So that's going to be for my show, my update, and destroy, because those are all given the ID of a vaccine. So for those methods, I can go ahead and set the vaccine because that ID will be defined. So set vaccine only show update destroy.
Hey, James, you have set sub in your before action, and you need set bug.
Oh yeah. Set sub. I'm like thinking of like the subreddit homework we did like a long time ago. Thanks for catching that. Cool. So kind of doing this a little different way of just like, here's all like the helper methods. I'm going to just write all my helper methods before I actually do my actions. But does it kind of help to see it this way? Like I'm going to have a sanitizer. I'll set my instance variables, you know, since this is a has many, I'm going to want this bug defined for every method and only the vaccine defined for the ones where I need the vaccine, which is show, update, and destroy. And now I can go in and I can start writing out my methods. So for this, remember, I want my index method, I want to show all the vaccines, but only the vaccines for a given bug. So I'm going to render JSON at bug dot vaccines. Cool. So this method, before it's called, we're going to set the bug by using bug.find params bug ID, and then we'll use that bug and render all that bug's vaccines. So I can now go into Postman and test this out. So bugs1 vaccines. So that's a GET request. And there we go. Pfizer and Moderna. See how those both belong to bug with ID 1. That's the thing I passed there. If I do, I think we have like 5. I created like a new bug 5. Oh no, I deleted that one. 4. Did I delete that one? Okay, let's see what bugs I have. No, 6. So 6/vaccines. That doesn't have any, but it still gives me back an empty array. But bug 6 was one I created through the UI, not through my seeds file. So I really want to expect that to have any vaccines because I haven't created it for it, but it's not breaking it. But bug 1 vaccines, there we go. Cool. We can move on to our show. I don't really think we'll use this one, but just, you know, render JSON at vaccine. It's really not that hard. It's a pretty simple one, so let's just might as well write it. So I want to say show this Moderna vaccine. So I'm going to go to API bugs 1, vaccines, and then I'm going to give it the ID of the vaccine, which is 2. And there we go. There's Moderna. But if I give it the wrong bug ID, like I say bug 6, vaccines 2, that's not going to work because measles does not have this ID 2. So we first need to find the right bug and then find that vaccine that's associated with that bug. Cool. Let's do a create, def create end. So this is where we're creating a vaccine. So at vaccine equals, I'm going to use this at bug to create it at bug.vaccines.new. I could also do it like this. There is, what's the difference between doing it these 2 ways? Ideas.
It's just kind of an extra safety measure because it'll only let it create under that particular bug.
Yeah, and with that, when you do it this way on line 14, it's going to have the bug ID associated with it. If I did it this way, I'd need to like probably pass it the bug ID. Because remember, we can't create a vaccine without a bug ID. That, I mean, maybe we can actually see this in action. We'll look at the differences. So let's do this one first. And then we'll say like dot new vaccine params. So if vaccine dot save, so here we'll render JSON. And here we'll do a render JSON errors. Vaccine.errors. And we'll do a status 422. Okay. Because yeah, let's look at the difference between these 2. So this one, I'm going to do a vaccine equals at bug.vaccines.new. Then we'll try to save it. So let's go fill out this path. So that's going to be a post request to API bugs, then the ID of the bug, and then to the vaccines. This one we don't need, we don't have any validation on it, but let's just give it a vaccine name. I don't know. Okay, so then I send this. Cool. That worked. I have an ID. That's working. Let me comment this out and then go here. So here I'm using the bug to create the vaccines new, but now I'm just using the vaccine model. If I try to send this, undefined method save for nil class. Okay.
Vaccine 1.save.
Oh yeah. Okay. Let's switch that to vaccine. So I just, yeah, I had this as vaccine.1. I'm just going to set that equal to vaccine so we don't have a different name. Let's resend. So now that's sending a 422 error. Here's the error, bug must exist. Because if I want to save a vaccine, if I go look at my schema, This is just part of our has many association. The bug ID null is false. So this is an example. I didn't add a validation in my vaccine model. This is a database validation. So this is my my database saying, hey, you can't create a vaccine without a bug ID. And so in my vaccines controller, that's why that is not working, because I need to give it the bug ID. So the easier way, like I could do that, I could go here and I could say add vaccine dot bug underscore ID equals bug dot ID. Now that's working because I'm giving it a bug ID. So I think the cleaner way, so that way works, but I think the cleaner way to write this be this one right up here. Say this also works. I'll leave this code here. Cool. So now my create's working. Could do my update. Once again, my update is going to be very similar. At vaccine dot update. Then I can give it vaccine params. Do I need the ID here, the bug ID? I'm sorry, this is my update. Do I need to set? Here I'm just using the at vaccine. I don't really seem to be doing anything with the bug.
It's not automatically set by the before action.
I am technically using the bug. I mean, it is getting set, that is true. And then like, I'm using that bug to set the vaccine. But I don't need the bug ID here because this vaccine is already created to the database. So it already has a bug ID. And so this, I'm not going to be changing the bug ID. The only thing that this update method is going to change is the name or efficacy. And this is part of the reason, like I have like this permit, like maybe some, bad person is trying to like hack it and they would like try to throw in the bug ID on an Axios call. And they would send some data that had a bug underscore ID with it. Right? Someone could do like an Axios.put, hit that route. Or actually, we can actually do this in Postman. So what I could do here is I can do a put, a vaccine name, but I could also send a vaccine bug underscore ID param. Set that to like 4. I hit, so I'm doing a put, is this the right URL? This is not the right URL. Vaccines ID 6. Let's update this to like bang, bang, bang. So it's updating the name, but it's not updating the bug ID. Because even though they're sending it, I'm going to remove it from that. So it essentially just doesn't do anything. I don't need, but I also don't need any bug ID information because this is the update function. The vaccine already has the bug ID because it's been saved to the database. And so, yeah, that's a put request to API bugs 1, the ID of the bug, vaccines, and then the ID of the vaccine to update. So now my put is working. We can do my destroy and render JSON at vaccine destroy. So for this, it's the URL is going to match the update URL. I just need to make it a delete request. So delete bugs, go find the bug ID with ID 1, get all those vaccines, and then the vaccine with ID 6, which should be this one. So if I hit send, that's now deleted. That's my 200. If I tried to do this again, that's gone from my database. I could just check. I could do a get request and see all the vaccines. There we go. So that is done. You know, I was able to do all that work. I've only changed one from that last commit. This was the only file I changed. So that's probably, you know, going to be nice with Git, not creating any conflicts. Could do a git add, git commit -m vaccine backend done, and push that up. Now, maybe someone had started to work on the vaccine front end. Like if we look at our Trello, like maybe we started these out at the same time. Like the back end vaccines and the front end vaccines, and this is done, and they still have a lot of work. What do you think I should do as the back end developer? And what should I let this person know? I should tell who's ever and when it comes to your hackathon, you should just tell everyone, hey, I am done with I got the back end working for the vaccines. So everyone can pull down, especially the front end person. Because now they can stop working with the dummy data and they can actually go work with the actual back end. So maybe they got like 10% of this done, but now the back end's working. So if it's actually working, they should pull that down for master. You should push that change up to master, and then they can pull down and actually start working with an actual database. Because then now they don't have to try to work with all that dummy data, and they can actually work with the back end. Cool. Yeah, questions on that? Let's go ahead. Let's take a break. Let's come back at 12:15. But are you starting to see how, you know, we can break stuff up, how you can use something like tools like Postman to do your back end separately from your front end. With your front end, you can just use some dummy data. But if you spend a little bit of time, and this is what you'll have tomorrow afternoon, a lot of your project time is going to be planning out things. It's a hard thing to do. It's not easy, but if you can really plan out things with your group. Have some condensed like Trello cards that really maybe a Trello card that goes over the basic CRUD actions for a model. Maybe have a Trello card that goes over the basic CRUD actions for like that nested has many model. Because then you can have that resource, that reference. Oh yeah, this is how I do it. Similarly, you can do similar stuff with like React. Like,
When will we find out who's like going to be in our hackathon group?
we'll do that tomorrow, probably after lunch, because that's when you'll start working on it. Cool. Yeah, let's. Any other questions? You can take a break. You can hop off. Come back at 12:15 if you don't have any questions. Okay. So let's go ahead and get started. So we have our back end done for vaccines. So we'll just go ahead and use this. We won't try to use dummy data. We'll just assume that this is working. So when we start our front end, we have it. So yeah, for this one, we're going to try to do all the CRUD actions on our bug vaccine page that we created. So let's do our first just basic use state, use effect. Kind of get some data on mount. So let's do our const bug, or let's do our const. We're going to want to grab vaccines, set vaccines, and use state. That's going to be an empty array. And then on our mounts, so use effect. We can get vaccines. So maybe just call this, I'm going to say get data. Just call this get data, and I'll show you why in 1 second. Const get data. This is going to be async. Yeah, we can do this in a try catch block. I'm not going to do any error handling really other than an alert. Let's do like an alert. Here getting data. Now, we do get our bug from our state. If you really wanted to, we can do multiple Axios calls. Axios.get. We could do a call that grabs just our bug data, API / bugs, and then the ID of the bug, which would be bug.id. And then we could do another call to get the vaccines. You can have multiple Axios calls, like line after line. If you wanted to do it that way, we really don't need to get the bug information because we get it through our state, or we get it through React Router. So I'll just leave this as a comment. Can do multiple Axios calls. Call that like bug response. Like I said, I'm not going to do that just because we grabbed this through our React router. So you could have multiple Axios calls just line after line. Set vaccines res.data. Maybe for now, I just want to see, am I getting the right data? So I could just use just JSON.stringify. Just do a quick little test to see if I'm loading my data correctly and setting the state correctly. Axios is not defined. There's my first error. So Axios, import Axios. There. So now we just need to go show. So I'm getting an error, a 500 error. Now one of the nice things about this, like having our backend done, like, you know, even though this is a 500 error, I'm still probably thinking this is on the front end, but I am not sure. But I do have a 500 error. So the first place I should check is my server. And boom, there we go. My server's not running. And then if you've seen this error on your React, you know, could not proxy request, like this connection refused, don't have my server running. So there's that error. But we caught that relatively quick, so I'm not trying to like render over a whole bunch of stuff. Oh. Sweet, so I got my render JSON, there's my bug, and there's the vaccines. Cool. So now that I have that, now maybe I can go ahead and, you know, maybe clean this up a little. Got name. Do a paragraph, do the description. You know, maybe do like a line break. Which one? Or should we like vaccines? Let's see what that looks like. So my bug, COVID-19, and then the description, and then we could have our list of vaccines. Okay, it's looking decent. So now I could do like a render vaccines function. Render vaccines. I think for this one, I know since like if I have the idea of like trying to do all the CRUD actions inside of here, like I know this component's probably going to get complicated, so I'm just going to spread it out, or I'm going to create its own component, a separate individual vaccine component. So how I'm going to start this out, I'm like, since I'm mapping it over, I need to give it a key. And then I just want to spread out all the props, just give it all the props that a vaccine has. So that would be the ID, name, efficacy, updated at, created at. So if I were to look at this in my browser, now, you know, vaccines not defined because I just made that up right there. So we actually need to go create a vaccine.js component. Okay. Cons vaccine. I know since I'm passing out all those props, like I did that .v. Well, now I should be able to pull my name, efficacy, ID. That's really all I care about right now from props. Return. It's like a div. So like an H3 name. See. And ID. So I can see all of these. I even want to give this, style. You could copy and paste that border component we created, or you could create your own. But for now, I'll just hard code a border. So it's kind of creating my basic vaccine component.
You have border misspelled.
Oh yeah, I spelled misspelled. Thank you. Like I said, just right off the bat, I threw this into its own component because I can see this kind of getting a little more complicated. So I think it's going to clean up my code to just have this be its own separate component instead of trying to do all of this code in my bug vaccines page. I can just spread out over that. I do need to import it. So import vaccine from vaccine. So we go to COVID show. Let's clear out of here. I thought we had it right. What am I doing wrong? Just gonna go back to this JSON. .stringify vaccines. I don't see it. ID, name, efficacy. There it is. Okay, I know what I'm doing. So I do have my vaccine state. I could also check like my components. I mean, I'm logging it. Bug vaccines. There they are. Oh yeah, these also have the bug ID. So, but when I render vaccines, it doesn't quite seem to be working. It's because I'm forgetting a return right here. There they are. Why don't I need a return right here?
It's an implicit return.
Yeah. So this is in one line, so I don't need that because it's implicitly returned. If I had curly brackets wrapped around that, then I would. I could actually write this function render vaccines like that. So now this has no returns, but it works. Because this render vaccines is implicitly returning this vaccines.map, which is implicitly going through each thing and returning the vaccine. So yeah, just write this another way. If I use the brackets, then I do need my returns. missing parentheses somewhere. Where is it? I have a syntax there somewhere. Okay, yeah, there we go. So two different ways, those just same thing. One is using implicit returns. The other one, since I'm using the curly brackets, I have to say return. Lovely JavaScript. Cool. One other thing I do have with my vaccine that I probably want to grab for links and stuff is I do have a bug ID. We might need that, we might not. Let's just grab it anyway, just so we can see it. Like these all belong to bug, 1. So I can get rid of this stringify. Questions on this? So now we have our has many. We're showing the bug. It's COVID-19 vaccines, Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson. Can you kind of see how using realistic looking data is probably going to make this easier on you? Because, I'm trying, this makes it, this measles, I don't know if I was doing that. That doesn't have anyone. But since since like this COVID-19 has like this real looking data, I think it makes your UI, as you're going through and testing it, I think it makes it easier to go about this. Because we could go in and create a bug, new bug, call it like man, that's ugly. And then I go to this show page and then the bug is ASDF, and then the vaccines would be whatever. I think that can really can cause some problems down the road. Cool. All right. So, let's go ahead and do our form. Vaccine form. Do you want to should we do 2 forms, one for the edit, one for the new? Just to show you could do it that way if you wanted to.
Might as well.
As well, cool. Yeah, so I think there's a trade-off here. The nice thing about doing it this way is you don't have to do all that logic of trying to make this work both ways. So this might be a good way to do it if you're just wanting to get it to work. And you don't have to do error handling and stuff like that. But you probably are going to end up duplicating some code, which whatever is fine. Let's just do it. So const, vaccine, new props, div. So I don't have to I'm definitely not going to have an ID. I know this is going to be my new form. Form, do a paragraph. So this would be like name. I can see the way input, sorry. Just, use state. name, set name equals use state. Like this one, I know it's always going to be blank by default. Oh, I need to wrap this in a return. So here the value can be equal to name on change. Take the event. E.target. Or sorry, e.target.value. This needs to be set name. E.target.value. Maybe this is enough for, like, I probably am writing a lot of code, should probably test it out before I go any further. Cool. So I have this starting out to create this vaccine new form. So in my bugs vaccine, should probably just, put this maybe right here. That vaccine new form. Make sure that's imported. So that is now, I'm able to type my name. So I can keep building out this new form. Like efficacy. Efficacy, maybe I want to start that off at like 0. Let's come in here, replace efficacy. Maybe make this a type number, but for that, like with this kind of stuff with the hackathon, it can just be, let's just get it working. I could also just make that an empty string too. Worry about like correct form input later, because now I can do like a name. We're not going to come in and try to break your app. It will be like bonus type stuff though, like can this handle bad input? But when you're just starting out, you can just do your own data, and you can make sure it's going to be like correct data. Oh, I need a button. Button, add. We need a on submit. Equals handle submit. Let's go ahead and define that function. This takes our event. Meteor e.prevent default. Let's start building out our vaccine. Const vaccine equals. We'll just build out this object. Let's just see if we can console.log it. That might be a good check to do before we actually try to do the Axios call. Can we actually log the thing that we want to send? Okay. So to my console, click add. I need to make that bigger. And it's right there. It's just a little small. So yeah, when we log it, there we go. We're logging the name and the efficacy. So cool. Now we're ready to do our Axios call, so I can make this async. Do a try catch block. What's the path? Especially with these has many, I think these can be hard to memorize, or if you ever get confused, this is where, you know, this routes file helps, or like if you beforehand had like your API set up, technically these should match. But if we're just doing standard CRUD actions, so I want to create a vaccine, so I'm going to do a post request to API bugs, then I need the ID of the bug, then vaccines. So that's going to be an await axios.post API /bugs. Then the ID of the bug, which we have is bug. Oh wait, this one we don't have the bug ID. We need that /vaccines. Actually, so far I don't have this. So what I could do a couple ways, I could pull this from my form, or from I could use a React router because it's going to be there in my routes. Or I think the easier way is to pass it down as a prop, because we have it right here. We have this bug. So I could do something like this: bug underscore ID or bug ID equals bug.id. So now here I can do, you know, props bug ID. And let's do a alert for an error occurred. And let's do a console.log res. And remember that I need to send my vaccine to this call. So that the has many definitely had, like, especially on the front end, there's a little more challenges. Like we have to send the ID. That's something we didn't need to do for the new with the bug. We didn't need to send any ID. This one, if we create a new vaccine, we need to create a URL that has this bug ID in it. So just had to do an extra step of just somehow grabbing that ID. There's a couple different ways we could have done it, but I think, why don't we just pass it as a prop? Because we have it right there. So let's just pass it down to the form as a prop. And then there we go. So let's try this out. Axios is not defined. Okay. Let's auto import Axios. Try that again. So if I look at this, I get my response. I'm seeing that status 200. That's looking good. In my data, I'm getting back a ID. So that's successfully saved to my database. So Save to DB. Yep, then we need to update UI. So since this is all occurring on one page, I need to do that in React. I need to manually add this. So to do that, remember the vaccine state lives in this bug vaccines page. So this is where I'm going to do that, handling the UI step. Add vaccine. So this takes a vaccine. And this can go ahead and set vaccines. So add the vaccine and just copy the rest of the vaccines. So create a new array that takes this vaccine that was passed to this function at the start and then copy the rest of the vaccines. And then use my set vaccines function. So now this add vaccine function can go here as a prop. So now my vaccine new has this add vaccine prop. That's where I can do it. Props.add vaccine. Res.data. Because res.data is the vaccine that I got back from the database. So now I can go test that out again, add, and there it is. It's there twice because I created this one twice. Cool. Something else I might want to do right here is just, set name to be blank and set. Just so it clears out the form. So there's my create. This also might be a good time to do a git add, git commit. So we actually did like, show and create. We have it at a working spot. That's always a good time to do a commit. Let's do let's try to do update really quick. So I'm going to have to go through this fast because we're kind of running out of time. Or actually, let's do update tomorrow. I think this will be a good little review to do update tomorrow. And we'll actually, let's do delete tomorrow as two, just so we can kind of review these two things and like kind of do another review of the has many. But are there any questions on so far what we have done? Let's just kind of do a quick little review. Oh, I stopped my server. So we have our bugs page. We can delete bugs. We can create a bug. Do bug. So when we click on a particular bug, then we get that show page for that bug, but then it's also showing the vaccines. Then you can come in and like create some vaccines with an efficacy. So when I click add, that's going to show that and it clears out the form. So this is all happening on the same page. Sweet. Some other things that we want to do tomorrow is when we come back, we'll go ahead and throw an edit form. We'll create a new edit form and just maybe we'll do it as like a modal or something. But we'll figure out a way how to do an edit. We'll figure out how to do a delete. But we have our back end working. I think we're pretty close. I think we could do an edit and delete in under an hour. And yeah, if I had some other people on this app, someone could have been doing the about page or the home page. We also had like that hospitals model. If I had another person, I think that could be like a section that someone could just completely be doing on their own. And we can just kind of break up this work. Any questions on this? I mean, when you, it's kind of weird when you go through and you look at the app, it doesn't seem like we've done that much, right? It looks pretty simple. But there's a ton of work. There's like so much going on with the back end, so much going on with like React and React Router. There's a ton of code behind, you know, just this app. But it's also like it's getting to the point where it's getting, you know, this app, you know, could slowly become more functional. I mean, that seems like a good app to be able to see like different bugs and then go in and see what vaccines and their efficacy for that particular bug. We could obviously go in and add more data. And yeah, you think once we like maybe did hospitals, maybe we could, you know, create a relationship between hospitals and, you know, vaccines, like which hospitals give which vaccines. And all of a sudden we have an app where we can, you know, maybe I want to go find a place where I can get like a measles vaccine and I want to see what my options are, like what different kind of measles vaccines are there, and then what hospitals would have that vaccine. So what time is it? Yeah, I think with that, if there's, that should be up on GitHub. Let me just make sure. Status, yep, that's up there. Are there any questions or anything?
So is there going to be a new assignment for homework? Or are we just continuing on what we did from yesterday? Just adding things on?
Yeah, I would continue on because I'm sure, did anyone get it done? It's quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely it's gonna like continue working on this. I would also say like spend some time even like, I would say try to spend more time on like the has many part. Like if like, for example, we have this homework, like this lecture where we have the bugs and vaccines. You know, there's some things you could skip with like the bugs, like you could skip update, you could skip delete, and, you know, instead focus on doing the CRUD actions on the vaccines. I mean, you don't even like, you could even also skip the create and just, you know, seed some bugs, and then you could go try to focus in on doing all the CRUD actions on the vaccines. Just to get that practice with, because it's been a second since we worked with the has many. So.
Okay, sounds good.
And Mike K, I saw you're still having server issues. So did that, what we did yesterday, break it worse?
I don't, it's giving like an entirely different thing. I don't know if it broke it worse. Like I'm still getting the correct node version, but it's just giving me a whole different error that's like failing to compile now, but like the server is running, it's just failing to compile because of something, I don't know.
Cool. I have like 5 or 10 minutes now. We could look at, I have to go to a meeting at 1, but we could look at that for a
Okay.
second right now.
Sure. Yeah, if you want to give it a go.
Cool. The rest of you, let's come back at 2 o'clock. Hit me up on Slack if you got any questions.
Thank you.
All right.
Do
So
that.
when do you get the error? Like what command are you running to?
So it was just like on my yarn start. Like I had it working for a while, and then today I kind of just decided I was gonna like follow the lecture and just pull from GitHub. So I was doing that, and well, so I guess first thing this morning I had the same error that I had last time, so I ended up having to like remove the yarn lock and whatnot. Got it going. Then I decided I was going to just follow the lecture and try to like just pull from GitHub. It was all going fine, and then I like opened up a different project, like ran a different project server, and that opened fine. And then I went back to this one, did a git pull to get the most recent updates, did yarn start, and I started getting this error.
Okay, let's. No, well, so this one, that error. No such. Okay, hit Control C. No such file in the. If you do an ls, you do have that file, right? So do it, yeah, ls cd into source.
Oh, just SRC.
src, yes, sorry. And do an ls. Yeah, that one, you don't have an index.
Oh wait, why left in my index?
Yeah, that's
Because this is just like weird. Let me try pulling again. So I'm already up to date. That's weird. I had it, and it was a different error that I was getting before. So
yeah, well, because this, wait, are these the same?
I'm pretty sure I'm bugs. Yeah.
What? Yeah, so open this up. Let me, yeah, open that up in code. Why is it not?
Why is my index.js gone? What the hell?
That's weird. You also have a node module. You have your node modules in your Rails portion.
Yeah.
That's fine. I mean, that shouldn't really be breaking in. That's, yeah. So let's, yeah, create your index.js in your, that should be in your source folder. That's weird that that's gone.
Because I like didn't touch it.
Yeah, let me, yeah, did that just somehow just, that's so weird. That's just getting deleted automatically. Okay, yeah. So I slacked you what to throw in there. You might need to restart your
Yeah.
React server on this one.
I didn't have it running anyway, so that's part of it. Okay, so this is the one I normally get. This is like what I got first thing in the morning. And this is where I had to like go and remove the yarn lock and the node modules.
Okay, so let's do this. Let's go remove the yarn from your Rails project.
The node modules, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
And RM the pack like go. Let me see VS Code. This will be easier to see it. You have a close your client folder. Then scroll down. Yeah, delete your gemlock file.
I just recreated it.
Oh wait, sorry. Your yarn lock file. We don't want to delete. Not your yeah.
Yeah.
Told you the wrong one to delete. But you don't have a package. That's weird. You don't have a package JSON in here. Cool. All right. Let's delete. Go to your client. Let's try this. Yeah, just redelete your node modules folder. I know. Let's just see if we can get it to work. And then delete your yarn lock and yarn lock file. Now go run yarn. Because this one, you just cloned this one down, right? You like, I wonder.
Yeah. But it was weird because I like cloned it down. I got this error. Or I got this error this morning when I logged in. Did this, like remove the yarn lock, remove the node modules, ran yarn, got it working. Then during the first break, I wanted to see if I could replicate it. So I totally deleted the database, removed the main folder, the bugs, the whole app, recloned it, reran everything, and it worked fine. Like I didn't have to do this again. And then it was like, yeah, I don't know why it like all of a sudden just fails.
I wonder, like, did you maybe when you installed it, did you run yarn like in maybe if you ran yarn in like the Rails project and not the client directory, like right when you cloned it?
I actually think at one point I did it in both, but I thought I deleted it since then, but maybe not.
Yeah, so maybe that's because like you did have like a yarn lock in your Rails project, so that
Right.
makes maybe you did something like that. It's still, and maybe delete because maybe you did the yarn start or the yarn in the Rails project, and then that might have not looked at. I think it'd still scroll down and go find your package JSON in your client, but
Weird. It's saying it can't find that source index again, but it's there now. It's not max. Oh, it's because it's capitalized.
yeah.
Just try this again. Holy cow.
Cannot resolve, module not found, this one. Wait, what? Source dot, oh, go to your app.js. Yeah, that's weird that, I would just delete that line one.
But so do you have an app.css in your folder?
Let me look.
'Cause
at
I didn't delete it. Like somehow I'm getting weird things deleted out.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine, yeah, I do.
That's weird. Actually, let's just do this. Let's comment it out.
Um, try refreshing.
Okay. So it's working now.
Yeah, that's weird that like those files in particular were getting like, I wonder how those got deleted.
Yeah, that's weird.
Because yeah, it's either you deleted them, but like those are weird. Those are kind of like random files to delete. Like I don't even know how you would do that
Well, and like
without
Look,
intent.
the only thing that I've done this morning is just pull from your GitHub. Like
Yeah.
I didn't really touch the code at all. I did like 3 things at the very beginning, and then I deleted the entire project and recloned it. And that's it. That's all I've done. So I did a few things at the beginning and then just like clean it all up. I actually did a pull and then played with the conflicts. And then I just deleted everything, recreated the entire project with another clone. Yeah, weird.
Yeah, because I mean, yeah, the app CSS, the index.js, those are in the repo in GitHub.
Yeah.
And I don't really see, I could maybe see like there being a conflict where you forgot to add one, but once again, those would be files that like, those would not be files that like you'd maybe have a conflict in.
Right.
I mean, yeah, how would you just, I don't know.
All right.
I would say like one thing that like, maybe I don't think your computer's broken is I think you running yarn in your Rails directory, definitely think that could have screwed stuff up.
Yeah. Maybe I know you got to go to your meeting. Maybe I'll just try deleting it and recloning it and see if it breaks again. But I don't know. I mean, like I said, it was weird that it worked, and then all I did was a pull, and then it stopped working. But yeah, I don't know.
That's not super weird though. Were you like following, were you trying to follow along?
No,
You were
that's
just,
like I was just watching, and then I had VS Code open, and I had the app open, but I was just watching you code, and then I just hit when you did a push. I waited like a few seconds after you pushed, then I did a pull, and then all of a sudden I got this fail to compile thing. And that's
okay, and that might have been because somehow your index.js got destroyed.
Right. I'm just not sure how that got destroyed. But yeah, I guess I don't know.
Yeah, that's
I'm just
you're
curious.
not still having, you know how you were having that one issue with like the cloud stuff?
Oh,
Was that you where like
Yeah,
you got
that
the
was me.
duplicated files?
I stopped having that issue, but like, so I gave myself a heart attack because I turned off the auto sync on my documents on my desktop, and then it removed everything from my desktop, and I had to like try to copy stuff down from the cloud. Anyway, I ended up like re-enabling it. I was like, all right, I'm just gonna pay attention to this, and I haven't had any problems since then with that.
Okay.
But
Yeah, that
maybe-
because that's a little like, that's weird if like you weren't really doing anything. But once again, the yarn, I don't know, that yarn command that screwed up. I don't see how. But yeah, if you're not really making any changes and you just pull and then that for some reason gets rid of your index.js, that's weird because we didn't make any changes to that file today.
Right.
So yeah, definitely keep me updated. And,
Yeah.
and when these errors do occur, let's,
Well, and the interesting thing was like, not that we need to dive into it right now, and I got your meeting, but like when I sent you the message that said it was failing, like I was getting a totally different error because I was getting this like ESLint config react app just cannot find module error. And then once you and I just started working on it, then it started popping to this index.js error. It like just switched errors as we were looking at it.
yeah, that's,
So
I'm like a little concerned, but
yeah,
I mean, I'm not gonna, I think we'll probably see something again pop up.
I would probably imagine so, but yeah, I'll let you know what I end up running into, but
Okay,
okay.
cool. We'll have a good lunch.
Yep, you too. Enjoy your meeting.
Yeah, see you.